Last year our family bought 140 acres of land off the grid in Australia. We are currently camping in and around our shed and dream of building a more sustainable and simple life. This is what we wake up to. Misty mornings, natural beauty, birds singing sweet songs at the rising sun. It's not frost yet, but we're getting down to around 8 degrees overnight sometimes now. We went by appointment to visit Sarah at Mole Station Native Nursery. They specialise in frost-hardy native plants and farm trees. They usually provide bulk orders to larger companies, so it's important to make an appointment before visiting the nursery. They provide seedlings in trays of 40, and we left with 160 plants and trees. They ended up costing us about 50 cents per plant, so it was well worth it. We got 40 lomandra for the creek pond. They help with the soil structure around waterways and they look amazing. And 40 melaleuca swamp paperbark. They are part of the myrtle family, and this one has weeping foliage and grows to be about 8 meters tall and tolerates moderate frost. We also got 40 Cootamundra wattle, which has brilliant yellow flowers. I can't wait to see this in bloom. And then we got 40 bottlebrush as well. The tray has a mixture of colours for the flowers in this one, so I'm not sure how they're going to turn out. We're just in the middle of autumn at the moment in Australia, so hopefully these seedlings will make it through the winter. We also went into town to get ourselves a lemon and an orange tree as well. We came home the back way. I just love these country roads. We have a fair few turtles in our area. This one is the eastern long-necked turtle. They're found in the east of Australia, and they're a species of the snake-necked turtle that live in freshwater creeks and dams. They are a side-necked turtle, which means they bend their head in sideways into their shell rather than pulling it directly back. And their necks are really long, which gives them the name snake-necked turtles. They look like a snake if you couldn't see the rest of their body. They usually travel in big groups to find new places to live, and when they're threatened or handled in any way, the turtle will squirt out an offensive smelling fluid from its musk glands, a bit like a skunk. This trait gives the turtle one of its other common names, stinker. So it's just had a big gulp of air and now it's taking off into the creek pond. These turtles can lay eggs 2 or 3 times a year, but the eggs and baby turtles can become a meal for other animals like water rats and things like that. With these turtles, males and females look the same until they're about 6 years old. The underside of their shell develops a V-shaped indent at the tail for a male or a U-shape for a female. The U-shape is a little wider, which allows the female to release eggs. They actually shed both their shell and their skin as they grow, and when they're swimming, the shedding can appear as a floating web-like slime around their legs and body, almost like a messy petticoat. They can live up to 50 years old and grow to a shell length of 25 centimeters. When they're hunting, they have their head wrapped and neck wrapped sideways under their shell, and as they move towards their prey, when they're close, like a snake, they will strike out fast, catching their prey by surprise. With the increase of rubbish in our waterways, the turtle habitat is decreasing. We can help by keeping our rivers and creeks rubbish free. The bees are already loving on these lemon flowers. I guess these plants are not going to plant themselves. We're planting this lemon tree and the orange tree in our yard. We have to be careful about the kinds of trees and shrubs we plant close to our shed because we're living in a bushfire prone area. When people live in cities for so long, it can be quite easy to lose touch with the land and the way food is made or grown when you're surrounded by buildings everywhere and all the traffic and everything like that. All the processed food that you have such easy access to actually uses up so much of our natural resources to produce, package and deliver. It's just crazy to think about. Not to mention the waste afterwards. All of our food costs us water, fertiliser, energy, and we also farm grains to feed the animals that we eat, wreaking havoc on our topsoils, and all the packaging ends up in landfill. We have always grown fruit and veggies even when we've been living in the city. I think if you grow it yourself, you're less likely to let it go to waste. And there's also much a smaller risk of pesticide residues and other chemicals on your food. We're hoping to grow a food forest here based on the principles of permaculture. The only problem with this area is that it can get quite cold and there are frosts, so it's a little bit different to the subtropical warm climate that we're used to living in, so it's a bit of a learning curve for us. These lemons are a thin-skinned hybrid fruit. They're part lemon and part mandarin, making them much sweeter than the kind of lemon that you'd see at the grocery store. You can't usually find these at the supermarket since they aren't grown commercially, and they can produce fruit in just 2 years after planting them. They can be both ornamental and a source of citrus sweetness. They grow to be about 6 to 10 feet tall and they thrive in full sunlight, requiring about 8 to 10 hours of direct sunlight per day. This orange tree is an orange Washington navel. It's a very popular orange in Australia and it is a neat and compact evergreen fruit tree. The foliage is a lovely rich green which holds its colour all year round. It has petite white fragrant blooms that appear in mid to late autumn. Following the blooms, the large rounded orange fruits with their thin skin develop. The fruit is very juicy. It has an excellent flavour. The first harvest is in winter, followed by a second crop in spring. They have low water requirements through winter, but they should be well watered through summer. In the first 12 months, this tree will be establishing its roots into the soil. The second year, you should be establishing the framework of the tree, and then in the third year, they should begin producing fruit. They like full sun and grow to be about 4 metres high and 4 metres wide. They like warm weather, but they can also handle the frost. So now we're off to plant the other trees. We only have about 20 tree protectors at the moment, so we're planting a combination of wattle, bottlebrush and melaleuca in 2 rows down our fence line. Now to plant the 40 lomandra along the creek line. I think we already have quite a few lomandra plants growing around the area, but they're very good for the soil composition. Paul invented his own seedling digger. The lomandra are an elegant native grass growing in large rounded open tufts, a bit like a green fountain or a firework. Lomandras are frost tolerant too, so that's great. They're excellent at binding loose soil together, helping prevent erosion, and they get a toehold on sloping sites and uneven locations. Albert Einstein once said, "Look deep into nature and then you will understand everything better." Planet Earth is one big ecosystem which connects everything and everyone. And the more that you live in alignment with nature and its biological rhythms, the smoother life will flow. The more you can feel that the world or the universe works for you. Unfortunately, when you live in the cities for a long time, you start to think that nature is somehow outside of us, something separate, a place to visit maybe if it's sunny and warm. But we are actually nature. Somehow the perception was created that rivers, mountains, oceans, birds and bugs are nature, but we're not nature. And this idea of separation, that we must live inside sterile buildings, and we've created a culture that honours hard work, money and material goods. It seems like we've never been further from nature. And coincidentally, humanity is suffering from huge amounts of chronic physical and mental illness, while at the same time planet Earth or nature is suffering from natural catastrophes everywhere as a direct result of how we've been treating Mother Earth. Humans and nature are suffering because we are one. We have planted over 60 plants and trees today. A good effort. Time to start the fire and sit back to admire our achievements for the day. You can see here down the fence line all the trees that we planted with the tree protectors around them. Hopefully the kangaroos don't get in and eat them all. And down there by the creek is where we planted all the lomandras. The unity between human beings and nature is absolutely essential if we want to create a sustainable future for humanity. We can't live without nature, without the air to breathe, without water to drink, without food to eat, and without the sun to even exist. Nature provides everything we need, and if we start appreciating and taking care of this gift and seeing nature as part of us instead of something separate, and instead of exploiting and polluting it, we can create balance and harmony on planet Earth. When you're not surrounded by the noises of the city, the traffic, the sirens and everything else, you can actually hear nature.
Down here.
How loud are these crickets out here? And the wild pigs have been digging up our yard everywhere. My favourite time of day, the sunsets are just so beautiful here. Here, living with nature's cycles, we're attempting to build a self-sustaining and self-regulating life. While the days are shorter in winter and the temperature starts to drop, we should remember that the Earth's energies are still busy at work. In order for the planet's ecology to remain healthy, our natural cyclical systems such as the lunar, carbon and water cycles, the passing of the seasons of all food, all need to remain in balance. Being aware of nature's cycles all around us on a daily basis bonds us more deeply to our place in the world. When we live in the cities and rely on a lot of electricity, our circadian rhythms can be disturbed. Living off the grid means you're more in tune with your biological cycles and being driven by an internal clock which controls our patterns of sleeping and eating. We are directly affected by the wider natural cycles triggered by daylight and night. Everything we do fits in with these natural cycles.
My young love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father